With Budget 2025, Nicola Willis has delivered us something which is fairly boring, but kind of reasonable in a don't scare the horses kind of way. The thing that stands out most to me, and is a bit disappointing, is that just like her first budget, there are no big spending cuts. Willis inherited from Grant Robertson a set of books riddled with massive increases in government spending, massive increases in government debt, and an economy going into recession. Not exactly the best circumstances for a new finance minister to be thrust into. However, I would have thought that there would be more room in the first couple of budgets to really take the chainsaw, Javier Milei style, to government spending. Perhaps they felt that since the economy was struggling to grow, the fiscal stimulus from the spending was needed to support it. If so, I guess I can understand that reasoning, even if I don't quite agree. The Willis approach is to gradually bring the books back into order over time. At this point, the government is still spending more than it takes in and will continue to do so until 2029 under current projections. The fiscal strategy relies on economic growth to gradually shrink the size of government and the debt relative to the economy in the medium to long term. This was a trick that Bill English used to great effect in his budgets. Hold the rate of growth in government spending below the rate of growth of the economy, and with the passage of time and with some solid economic growth, relatively high government spending and government debt can be whittled down to size. The risk to this strategy is that you actually need some economic growth to occur for it to work, and the government has struggled a bit on that front in its first year or so. You also need to make it past your first term to give the strategy time to work. Otherwise, the next version of Grant Robertson is likely just to come in and do another big spend up before the books have had time to recover. There is also very little headroom for contingencies. Another event like the Christchurch earthquake or the COVID pandemic would send the books spiralling back into the red and require some really hard decisions to be made around cuts to health, education, or social welfare payments. All in all, I'd have to say the budget is solid but uninspiring. The real issue is going to be whether Luxon and his crew can get the other policy settings right to ensure New Zealand gets the economic growth it needs. New Zealand has relatively low levels of productivity, a problem that governments of both the left and right have failed to solve. One of the chief culprits here is that over recent decades, our high rates of immigration have diverted significant amounts of capital into the housing market and away from more productive industries. Until we fix that, we're going to continue our drift down the OECD rankings.